Where's this? Oh, yeah, back with that. Oh, this is on my screen. Okay. Let me put this right here. Gotta do what I gotta do. What the what? Come on, man. No. All right. Can do that. That's crazy. What the? No. Almost took up everything. I'd have been pissed. All right. We should be good to go. Should be good to go. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Ravens flock, what's going on, everybody? Hope you guys are enjoying your night. What's going on to everybody in the chat? And I love how immediately this is a stream that's focused on positivity and showing appreciation to the Ravens, because that's what we're going to do today. I love how that's the case and that's the title, and I'm immediately looking at the chat and I'm seeing nothing short of some negative connotations already. We just started, and it's starting off with, if Harbaugh loses this game, he needs to be banished. Okay, guys. This fan base has been traumatized, man. We're still a young franchise, man, and we won 2 championships, but damn, bro, the last decade has traumatized this fan base. We're here to appreciate the Baltimore Ravens. And the very first thing I see in the chat, man, if Harbaugh screws this up, he needs to be banished. Guys, let's calm down for a second. This is coming from me. I know, I've been as pessimistic as any other fan could possibly be. And trust me, that has not stopped. We're doing this appreciation video because we have a little time before the playoff game. And this needs to be done before the postseason starts. But trust me, the focus is still the focus. They know they need to handle business. And obviously, I have to talk about the Ravens and Steelers. Which, by the way, I'll be looking to put that video out tomorrow, because we have to do Ravens-Steelers. That'll be the preview. AFC North matchup. I already have a lot of things to say. Some of y'all want me to do a motivational video. That is not going to really be a motivational video. At least I don't think it should be taken as a motivational video. However you take that video is however you're going to take that video. But that is for tomorrow. And of course, we play on Saturday. So tomorrow will be the video that drops for the Ravens and Steelers preview. Actually, just before I came on live stream, I just posted a video about the winning formula for the Ravens. This is the video I was talking about where there is a clear winning formula that the Ravens can follow if they want to get to where they want to get to. So if they follow this winning formula, they should be able to win this tournament. Just dropped a video about that. You guys are free to go check it out afterwards if you want. But yeah, this live stream is being done because the season's over. Postseason's up next. It's time to talk about certain individuals that need to get their flowers, they need to get their love, they need to get their appreciation and support, because coming into the season, these individuals, we did have some question marks. Just going to keep it a bean. The guys that we've expected greatness from, that we've gotten from consistently, they're not going to be on this list. This is not an appreciation video for Lamar Jackson because we appreciate him every day. This is not an appreciation video for Derrick Henry because we appreciate him coming to Baltimore. This is not an appreciation video for Kyle Hamilton because we appreciate what he does. And he's been a warrior this year. So this is not an appreciation video about the guys we've, always appreciated. This is an appreciation stream for the individuals that were placed under the fire coming into this season. And they have answered the call. This is something we need to do, especially heading into the playoffs, because these are individuals we need to rely on. So that's why we're here to stream and talk about these specific individuals, to give them their flowers, give them their credit, and hope they keep up the good work. Because the fan base has been brutal on these individuals. The fan base has been brutal on them. They've been tough on them. And the players answered the call when you needed them to answer the call. So that's what we're here to do today. We're here to show love, appreciation, and support to these guys that stepped it up this year, handled business, and got it done when they needed to get it done. So obviously we've got a list of individuals on this aspect because, trust me, Ravens flock, they are relentless, man. They're relentless. They're relentless. They are relentless. They do not stop. They do not rest. They will find a way to speak on every individual. If you make any type of mistake or you've had any sort of poor performance, trust me. Ravens flock is here to flame them, here to call them trash, here to say they need to be off the team immediately. This is what we do as a fan base. So what I'm here to do is speak on the individuals that were spoken of in that specific aspect. They've got to get their love and appreciation. Quick one out the way, which again, not much that needs to be said here, but quick one out the way because there was a little bit of fire towards him. Quick one out the way. Shout out to Mark Andrews. Coming into the season, people kept asking whether or not he was washed. I think people just overestimated what he went through. He had suffered a significant injury last year that took him out for pretty much the rest of the regular season. He came back in the AFC title game. He clearly wasn't himself and then played football in months, obviously. So putting him in that type of game probably wasn't the best situation. Then coming into this year, he ends up going through a very bad car accident, which thankfully he was okay from and got out of okay from. But the ramifications that came from that definitely lingered for some time, and it took him a lot to be able to overcome that. I don't think people understood what he had to go through with that car accident and that whole situation, and people kind of underestimated that. So when he started off the season not being on the same page with Lamar, he was dropping passes and all this other stuff. People were sitting back and saying, is Mark Andrews washed? Should we get rid of him? People were really ready to say, let's trade Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely's tight end one, yada, yada, yada. Just for Mark Andrews to return back to being the Mark Andrews we know, a top 3 tight end, and also getting a career high in touchdown receptions. He finished the season with 11 touchdown catches. So shout out to him. I think, let me see his final stats on the regular season because I have everybody here. Mark Andrews ended up finishing the season 55 catches, 673 yards, 11 touchdowns, which is a career high for him. Shout out to Mark Andrews for doing that. That's kind of a mini appreciation aspect because, again, Mark Andrews is Mark Andrews. People came into the season expecting him to return to form. So when he wasn't looking like that early on, people were starting to get scared. And then when he returned to that, everyone was like, okay, Mark Andrews is back. But he's not really one that I want to put on this list specifically because we expect greatness from Mark Andrews, and nobody's really surprised by Mark Andrews playing like that. Lamar and Mark have been doing this since their rookie years. So we expect this from Mark, And all we needed him to do was get healthy and get back to looking like Mark Andrews, which is what he did. So shout out to him. He deserves all the credit, love, and support from the Ravens flock for getting back to who he was and overcoming the things he had to overcome these last several months that people just seem to have ignored. So shout out to Mark Andrews. But he's not the individuals on this list that we need to talk about. We've got a select few individuals that need to be discussed because the Ravens flock, these individuals, they caused battles. They caused wars. They caused a lot of conflict in the Ravens flock. What's going on, HC Picks? Y'all didn't have to expose my Texans like that. Hey, good luck next week. Well, next week. Good luck in, 4 days against the Chargers. Let's see how you do there. Maybe you guys can get back on track. But if you do, you're probably heading to Kansas City. So, yeah. But we'll see about that. But, yeah. We've got a list of individuals that we need to discuss and talk about. I know the individuals that have been getting a lot of heat from Ravens flock, especially coming into the season. We need to discuss them. And I think, in my opinion, when we look at the list, I think nobody is better to start off the appreciation list. No other person is a better candidate to start off this list than Rashad Bateman. Rashad. This was something, man. We have to start with him because we have to put our faith in him because he's the guy you're going to need Saturday. So we start off with him. And based on how he's performed this year, he's answered the call. So we've got to start off with Rashad Bateman. For the Ravens appreciation stream, the first person we've got to shout out and give appreciation to is Rashad Bateman. Rashad Bateman was under a lot of heat entering this season. First of all, let's talk about the man's career to start off with. So Rashad Bateman was a receiver many of us wanted the Ravens to draft in the first round. I myself was somebody that was very high on Rashad Bateman. I felt that he would be a great weapon for Lamar Jackson to have. This was back when we still had Hollywood and you needed that other guy next to Hollywood. I felt Rashad Bateman was that guy. I felt he could be that individual for us. I felt that, it was 2021, so Hollywood was still with us. I felt Rashad Bateman was that pick we needed to make in 2021. The opportunity was there. It matched up perfectly well. And the Ravens drafted Rashad Bateman. I remember clearly because I was live streaming the draft in 2021. And when they picked Bateman, I was excited. I was happy. Rashad Bateman was the individual that I wanted to see with Lamar Jackson because I felt he was a guy that could connect with Lamar and it would lead to a lot of success in the passing game for Baltimore. So Rashad Bateman gets drafted by the Ravens in 2021. He comes to Baltimore. And that's where everything starts to happen for this young man. So obviously he starts off the season hurt. He's dealing with an injury to start off the season. So his rookie year, he doesn't even play early on. I think he misses the first 4 or 5 games of the season. So he misses the early campaign of his rookie year. And this is 2021. So everybody's hurt on this team. You could use all the support you could possibly get from anybody. This is needed. You need help everywhere. So you draft Rashad Bateman, and he starts off hurt his rookie year. But he does eventually play. And I remember, I believe it was the first 6? Was the first 5 to 7? Maybe even more? The first 5 to 7 completions Rashad Bateman had in his rookie year were all for first downs. So when he burst on the scene early on, it wasn't like he was being highly utilized by the Ravens because the Ravens never utilize their rookie receivers like that unless it's just somebody they were surefire and came in healthy, like a Zay Flowers, like a Hollywood Brown. Right off the bat, they knew those were guys they were going to use. From the first game, you knew they were going to utilize they were going to utilize Hollywood and they were going to utilize Zay Flowers. We saw that happen for both their rookie year campaigns. But Rashad Bateman, he was injured to start off, so he didn't really get to integrate and really work like that. So that was an aspect that needed to be slowly integrated because Rashad Bateman himself missed time due to injury. He comes in and the first 5 to 7 completions he has are for first downs. He's making plays here and there, and he's looking to be very, very, very good for the Ravens. You know, it's going to take time to ramp up, but Rashad Bateman is showing signs of potentially being that number one guy for Baltimore. He starts off well, he's doing well, but unfortunately for him, it was 2021 and everybody got hurt. Everybody got hurt, including Lamar. For the first time in his career, he suffers a season-ending injury. So Rashad Bateman has to go the rest of his rookie year without spending that time building chemistry with Lamar Jackson. And he ends up finishing his rookie campaign with some good number, or some decent numbers given the circumstances. He played 12 games in his rookie year, caught 46 passes, 515 yards, a touchdown. So he was decent his rookie year. But we expected to see more coming out of year two. Year one was a wash. Everybody was hurt. It was the injury year for Baltimore. It was 2021. Let's come back 2022. Let's see everybody come back perfectly healthy, perfectly fine, 100%. It's going to be great. 2022 comes in. And Rashad Bateman hits the scene his first two games. He catches a deep ball against the Jets in week one. Everybody's looking at the talent saying, yeah, we got a guy here. Week two, he takes a slant to the house for 75 yards against Miami. Everybody's like, all right, we've got our number one. This is a year after we've already traded away Hollywood. We've got our number one. We've got our guy. This is what we're looking for. Rashad Bateman, wide receiver one. Him and Lamar are killing it. This dude gets off to a fast start early on in the season. But then, unfortunate situation hits for the young man. He starts dealing with an injury once again. The injury keeps him out for some games. He comes back from the injury and then re-aggravates the injury, which ultimately ends his season. So, year two, gone, wasted due to injuries for Rashad Bateman. He ends up playing 7 games, catches 15 passes for 285 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, his second-year campaign was off to a fast start, but it ultimately died because he got hurt and missed the rest of the season. To make matters worse, Lamar suffered back-to-back years of season-ending injuries. So now, you go into the offseason, year 3 for Rashad Bateman. So let's see. Year 1, he starts off hurt. Then comes back. But then Lamar gets hurt. Year 2, he comes back. Him and Lamar had a little bit. Lamar's coming back from an injury, but still, they have a little bit of work in training camp. Not much work in the offseason. No one gets to work on their game with each other, but it is what it is. They have some work in the training camp. And they come out of the gate just on the same page. And everything's going well until Rashad Bateman gets hurt, and then he goes out. Year 2. And then Lamar goes out. Year 2. So now we're in year 3. This is 2023. So this is last season. 2023. This is the one that hits home. 2 years of this guy being hurt. Expectations were placed on him because he's a first-round pick. We had seen the talent from Rashad Bateman. All we need to see is him being healthy and him and Lamar being on the field together, and we think it can work out. Year 3, 2023, we think this is the time. But things have kind of changed for the Ravens. Because of his injury history, and because there was no one else to rely on consistently, because other than Rashad Bateman, you were throwing to Devin Duvernay and James Prochet, you needed receivers for Lamar. So the Ravens go out last year, and they draft with a first-round pick, Zay Flowers. And it was clear as day once they drafted him, Zay Flowers was wide receiver 1. But to make it even grander, they go out and get Nelson Aguilar and Odell Beckham Jr. So now Rashad Bateman, who's coming off of an injury, again, is coming in year 3, and now there's a new number 1 guy, and they've got 2 other receivers who are veterans that are obviously going to be utilized. You don't bring Odell here if you're not going to utilize him. Nelson Aguilar is a veteran. They love utilizing veterans. So now Rashad Bateman's dealing with that. And you get into year 3. People still have hopes for him. People have some expectations for Rashad Bateman. They're like, hey, as long as he can stay healthy, he could be an intricate part of this offense. 2023 comes. We're in Todd Monken's system year 1. Rashad Bateman has the healthiest season of his career to date. He plays 16 games. Actually, I'm pretty sure, yeah. We got the number 1 seed, so I'm pretty sure he was healthy all year. So it was the healthiest season career. He played every game that the Ravens started in. So in 16 games of football, he was there. He was healthy. He was on the field. Nicks here and there, but it wasn't enough to take him out. The healthiest year of his career. He's on the field every game with Lamar Jackson. Finally, we're going to get to see some of that magic we saw in 2022. It's time for Bateman to show us. Instead, what we get is a frustrating season from him and little to no chemistry between him and Lamar. Rashad Bateman in 16 games in 2023 had 32 catches for 367 yards and a touchdown. We expected more. We wanted more from him. It's 3 years into this guy being drafted, and we haven't gotten what we've wanted from Rashad Bateman. People are frustrated. Fans are starting to turn on him. He's finally healthy and on the field, but now that he's on the field, he's not delivering. The worst possible aspect was when he dropped the touchdown pass that was in his hands in Week 5 against Pittsburgh in 2023. When Rashad Bateman was open, Lamar wasn't looking his direction. He was looking towards Zay. He was throwing to Zay. He was throwing to Odell. He was throwing to Aguilar. He was throwing to Andrews. He was throwing to Likely. He wasn't looking towards Bateman's direction. When Bateman did get the ball, he was dropping passes. People were frustrated. People were tired. People were so done with this. They wanted to move on from Rashad Bateman. But the Ravens said no. You see, a lot of people, myself included, took a look at the film and saw that Rashad Bateman was consistently getting open and creating separation for himself all year. He just wasn't being utilized in the offense. And we said if you give him more opportunities and him and Lamar work on the chemistry, we could get something out of Rashad Bateman. He's just not getting the opportunities. He's getting separation, but he's not getting the opportunities. And yes, in some of the opportunities that he did get the ball, he dropped it. He's got to be better at that. But he deserves more opportunities. Well, it's clear as day the Ravens also took a look at the film and saw how much separation he was getting because they did something that the fan base at the time didn't agree with. They gave him a 2-year extension. And yes, it was on a cheap deal, but they gave him a 2-year extension. And coming into this season, many people didn't like that because they didn't believe he would either A, stay healthy, or B, perform. Or hell, C, both. They didn't expect to see anything from Rashad Bateman. So how did Rashad Bateman respond to this? Knowing that the Ravens flock has been disappointed by his performance, hearing it and seeing it on social media. How did Rashad Bateman respond? Well, Rashad Bateman responded by finally being on the same page with Lamar and finally showcasing his capabilities and the talent that we saw way back in 2021 that the man was capable of showcasing. Rashad Bateman, 2024, played all 17 games, so he was healthy for every game. You get nicks here and there, but he didn't miss a single game this year. So in 17 games, Rashad Bateman catches 45 passes for 756 yards and 9 touchdowns. We finally got to see the talent from Rashad Bateman. We finally got to see the potential that we knew he had. And we finally got to see him and Lamar consistently connect downfield with the deep ball. Lamar's number one deep ball target this year, Rashad Bateman. We finally got to see that connection between him and Bateman. So this live stream goes out to you, first person on the list. Shout out to Rashad Bateman for finally being able to showcase his talent, staying healthy, getting on the same page with Lamar, and showcasing what he's capable of. The same talent, the same abilities, the same potential we saw, those flashes in 2022, he finally put together a season where he showcased it. Nearly 800 yards receiving and 9 touchdowns. Nobody expected to see that from Rashad Bateman, but we got that from him this year. He has now become a reliable weapon in this offense. And heading into this game on Saturday against the Steelers, with no Zay Flowers potentially, he's expected to answer the call. And he's been answering the call all season long. We appreciate what you've done, buddy, but you got to go answer the call on Saturday. We saw what you were doing against Cleveland. You were answering the call as well once they went down. You were that number one target. You will once again be that number one target. Go answer the call. We've got faith in you. We believe in you. We appreciate you, Rashad Bateman. Thank you for all you've done this year. Keep it up. So that is the first person that we will show appreciation to. Shout out to Rashad Bateman. The second person that we will show appreciation to, which has to be said, I mean, this guy, oh my goodness, this guy. If Rashad Bateman was getting thrown under fire, this next person was getting completely cooked. And I mean, it was bad. Oh my goodness, it was bad. It was bad. He was getting completely roasted. So, second person on the Baltimore Ravens appreciation string, Ronnie Stanley. Ronnie Stanley has been a very interesting case. He's been a very, very, very interesting case. You drafted him in 2016 to be the left tackle of the future. From 2016 through 2019, the man steadily gets better and better and better. And he shows consistency throughout those years. He gets better and better and better and better and gets to the point where he becomes an all-pro left tackle. So you drafted this guy to be your left tackle for the future. He shows improvement every single year, consistency in pass protection, consistency in run blocking, all through 2019. All through his career until 2019, where he takes it to another level, becomes one of the best left tackles in football, and becomes an all-pro left tackle. Baltimore loved what they saw from this guy. Loved it so much, they gave him a long-term contract. Gave him a contract extension. But the football gods are very cruel, and they showcase their cruelty. Baltimore gives that man a contract extension, and immediately after giving that man an extension, the dude suffers one of the most brutal injuries a tackle, hell, any player can suffer. The dude suffers a season-ending injury that was so brutal that we don't know, or we didn't know at the time, whether or not he would be able to come back. We didn't know if he would ever fully recover from this. So he suffers that season-ending injury in 2020. He comes back in 2021, and this is the beginning of everything. Ronnie Stanley's an all-pro left tackle, so the expectations once you become an all-pro is different. With Rashad Bateman, he started off hurt, and he never got the opportunity to showcase his talents until this year finally. With Stanley, we saw the progression through his first 3 years, and all the way till 2019, where he took it to another step and became an all-pro left tackle. So for Stanley, the standards were higher than with Rashad Bateman. With Stanley, you were an all-pro left tackle. So people expect the all-pro left tackle to recover from this injury, come back strong, and showcase what you can do. Well, Baltimore, due to a certain individual that's no longer there, that terrible, terrible strength and conditioning coach, which, by the way, find it funny how this team has been one of the healthiest teams in football since that guy's been gone. Just saying. But he comes back from that injury in 2021. And that was the beginning of everything going wrong for Ronnie Stanley. He came back too early. He came back way too early. He wasn't even close to being recovered. He plays in that first game against Las Vegas. And I remember him playing against Las Vegas. He was awful. He was awful. He starts off early on in the season playing, and he's just getting beat by everybody. Can't consistently block, can't move, can't do anything. Not good in pass protection, not good in run blocking. Ronnie Stanley is getting cooked by everybody, and he looks awful. Eventually it comes out that he hadn't fully recovered to where he needs to be. So guess what happens with Ronnie Stanley? Eventually in 2021, he gets shut down. Disappointing year for him. But everyone sat back and said, you know what? It's not on Ronnie Stanley. At the end of the day, they rushed him. They rushed him. It was too early for him to come back from that type of injury. He shouldn't have been on the field in the first place. They rushed him. Shut him down. Bring him back. 2022. We'll be fine. In comes 2022. Ronnie Stanley returns. He's back from that injury. He's playing. And again, Ronnie Stanley is not playing well. He's getting beat consistently. He can't block. He doesn't look good at all. And everyone really starts to have concerns. Is he never going to look like the all-pro left tackle we paid all that money for? He was relatively healthy in 2022. But he looked poor. He looked very poor. And then the injury started happening again for Ronnie Stanley. And everyone's like, he's playing poor, he can't block, he can't pass protect, and now the injuries keep happening to him consistently. It might be time to have those discussions to potentially look towards another option. 2023 comes up. Ronnie Stanley's now, over 2 years removed from that injury. Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure it's about 3 years removed at this point from that season-ending injury. Ronnie Stanley is healthy. He goes into training camp healthy. It's the healthiest he had been since the injury. He's back to being 100%. Or at least as close to 100% as you could be given an injury like that. What ends up happening? Well, he plays week 1 against the Texans. And he's playing decent. Not the best. But you could tell that he had improved compared to the previous 2 years. And he was a lot more healthier now. What ends up happening? Both he and Linderbaum suffer injuries week 1 against the Texans. Here we go again. Ronnie Stanley was finally starting to get back on track just for him to suffer an injury. And now he's out for some time. There we go. So we paid this left tackle all that money. He can't stay healthy. He can't be consistent. When he's on the field, he's getting beat. It was up and down for Ronnie Stanley. He returned from the injury, but Buddy was consistently getting beat. I mean, he looked awful as a left tackle. Had he improved compared to the other 2 years? Yes. But it wasn't all-pro left tackle standards. And the money he was getting paid, he wasn't playing up to that standard. And it was looking bad. So bad that you got to the AFC title game, and he was so poor on a block, Lamar got strip sacked. And everybody was ready to run this dude out of Baltimore. When his contract's over, get him out of here. Get him out of here. Everyone wanted Ronnie Stanley gone. I sat back and said, well, Ronnie, at the end of the day, you got 1 year left. It's up to you to go prove everybody wrong. In comes this 2024 season. Ronnie Stanley, this is your last chance to prove yourself. Go out there and showcase you can still be the all-pro left tackle we paid. Ronnie Stanley comes into this year 100%. Ronnie himself said this is the healthiest he's been since the injury. Ronnie himself admitted that in previous years, he was not 100%, he was not great, he was playing terrible. We hear talks about him in training camp, looking amazing, looking like he's back in his rare all-pro form. Ronnie himself said, this is the best I've played since the injury. And everyone's skeptical, but they're willing to give the man a chance to see how he does. And so comes the regular season. And I can say this for a fact. Ronnie Stanley, with all the criticism on him, with everyone saying we need to move off of him, with him no longer looking like an all-pro, with him having to answer the call, I can thoroughly say Ronnie Stanley answered the call. No question. Ronnie Stanley answered the call. And you've got to give this man his credit. Ronnie Stanley answered the call. Sorry, I'm just checking something out here for a quick second. Because I had to check one of these things out. But yeah, Ronnie Stanley answered the call. Ronnie Stanley answered the call. He answered the call and returned to form. Now, would you say he's back to being 100% the all-pro left tackle? I would say it's debatable. He's come close. I don't know if you would 100% say he looks like the all-pro left tackle that he was before the injury, but Ronnie Stanley came really close. He came really close. He's played at a high level this year. Everybody asked him to answer the call and deliver or get ready to pack your bags and leave Baltimore. Ronnie Stanley answered the call, and he delivered. He's done a fantastic job this year. He's been very consistent in run blocking. He's been very consistent in pass protection. He's barely got beat. Now, yes, there's been a few times, maybe 2-3 times where I've seen him get beat. Maybe even less than that. Maybe one time where I've seen him get beat. But Ronnie Stanley this year has answered the call. He's been consistent, he's been healthy, and he's been doing his job. Everybody wanted this man to answer the call, and guess what he did? He answered the call. So shout out to Ronnie Stanley. We appreciate you. Now listen here, my friend. You have a job to do in the playoffs. You can't get beat the way you did last year. In the AFC title game, I've already said it, you got beat on a block so bad that it ended up causing Lamar to get strip sacked. That was on you, my friend. That was on you. That can't happen again in the postseason. You also made the mistake this year against the Steelers, the first drive, which caused Lamar to get stripped there. Now, thankfully, you recognized that, and you fell on the ball immediately against the Pittsburgh Steelers to make sure that you got that ball. So good on you for that. That was one of the few times you messed up this year. But other than that, you've been great. You've been consistent. You've been doing a great job in pass protection. You've been doing a great job in run blocking. You have to continue to play this way. And come playoff time, you will face tougher competition. Starting off in round one here against the Steelers, you have got to answer the call. You've answered in the regular season. It's time to see you answer it in the postseason. So shout out to Ronnie Stanley for answering the call. That's number 2 on the list. Number 3 on the list. Woo! Oh, this one is a different one. This one had to be said. We won Bateman's case for not playing up to his potential, not staying consistently healthy. We won Ronnie Stanley's case because he was an all-pro left tackle that couldn't stay healthy, and when he was on the field, he didn't even come close to playing at that level. And then we have this third person that we've got to show love and appreciation to. Shout out to Marlon Humphrey. The number 3 person on the Baltimore Ravens appreciation list, Marlon Humphrey. You guys have been brutal towards Marlon Humphrey. We don't need to say much here about Marlon Humphrey. All-pro corner, one of the best in the game. His 2019 seasons when he became an All-Pro. He came in as a rookie in 2017, had a great rookie campaign. I don't think he gave up a single touchdown his rookie year. 2018, he was continuing to build on that. Just about as good as 2017, but not standing out as much as he did in 2017. 2019, it was his breakout year. I believe that was the first year he switched from 29 to 44. It was his breakout year. Marlon Humphrey became All-Pro Marlo, had a great year, did what he needed to do, and became one of the best corners in football. And everyone's like, oh, we got something here with Marlon Humphrey. Since that 2019 point, Marlon Humphrey had not played up to the standard. 2020 was fine, but the injuries started to begin to happen for Marlon Humphrey. 2020, he had a good year. He had a decent year, but he didn't play at an all-pro level. Still, he was pretty good. Everyone knew what Marlon Humphrey brought to the table. It was great. He was still recognized as one of the best corners in the game. It was all good. All good there. 2021, though, the performance from Marlon Humphrey started to slip. It wasn't as good as the previous 2 years, and it started to showcase itself. What made matters worse for Marlon Humphrey is he suffered his first season-ending injury in 2021. He suffered a season-ending injury against the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2021 and was out for the rest of the year. So for the first time in that man's career, he suffered the season-ending injury and was out. So he had to spend the offseason getting himself back into playing form. Got to recover from that injury. He goes through the recovery. We go into the 2022 season, and Marlon Humphrey does not look like the Marlon Humphrey we expect to see. Injuries start becoming a lot more consistent with Marlon Humphrey. We're not seeing him play at the high level that we're grown accustomed to seeing in previous years, and injuries start becoming a problem with him. He does not really have a great 2022 campaign, but it's somewhat of a bounce back year from 2021. But the injuries are starting to become an issue. And the injuries do not stop there, because in 2023, the injury bug hit him again. It hit him to where he missed the first month of the season. Man was out for the first month of the season. So he's not playing now because the injuries are becoming more consistent. He's missing games once again. And when he's been on the field, he hasn't played well. To make matters worse, the first game he plays is against Pittsburgh, and he gives up the game-winning touchdown against the Steelers, in which Kenny Pickett hit George Pickens, and that's how that goes. So people are all on Marlon Humphrey's head. For the rest of the year, Marlon Humphrey, sorry, I looked at the chat and somebody said something, but about the Ravens, which I'll talk about the chat afterwards. I'll look at your comments afterwards. But straight up, Marlon Humphrey had himself a decent year in 2022. Had himself, not 22, 22 and 3. He had himself a decent year. I would say it was probably around the same as 2022, except he had missed those games to start out the season. But Marlon Humphrey was not looking like an all-pro, and he wasn't really looking like a Pro Bowler either. Marlon Humphrey was not playing up to the expectations we expected of him, and people were starting to get tired of it. What made the situation escalate past what Ronnie Stanley did, not what Ronnie Stanley did, but what made it escalate past the Ronnie Stanley situation was Marlon Humphrey started his own podcast. Oof. So Marlon Humphrey for the last few years has been playing well. He's been a great defender, but he's not the all-pro Marlo. He hasn't played up to that standard for a while now. In comes the podcast. So Marlon Humphrey has not played up to standard. He's not looked great. And he's doing a podcast. That started to really tick off Ravens fans. Because Guy is over here doing podcasts, and he's not performing at the highest of levels that we expect him to perform on the field. And all of a sudden, people start making these assumptions that Marlon Humphrey don't care about football. He's focused on the podcast. He's not focused on the game. All these other assumptions. And they start getting on Marlon's case. If he's so focused on the podcast and wants to be a podcaster so much, he can go be that. He don't need to be on the team. Fans were getting at this man's neck. Oh! When he performed poorly, podcast. He's too focused on the podcast. And coming into this season, that was really being held against him early on. When the defense was not playing well, the team did not look well, and we were struggling. Defense wasn't looking great. Now, interesting enough, defense wasn't looking great. But Marlon Humphrey this year, early on to start, was playing some good football. Problem is, he wasn't playing great football. And again, coming into this season, people had grown tired of Marlon Humphrey. They had grown tired of Marlon Humphrey because he wasn't playing to an all-pro level. They were wondering if he would ever get back. The injuries were being consistent, and now the podcast is in the equation. That becomes a whole thing. But something changes for Marlon Humphrey. He was already playing well to start the season. But everything changes for Marlon Humphrey when Lamar Jackson calls him out for dropping picks. He gets called out by Lamar Jackson when he was on IG Live after a game in which he really shouldn't have been on IG Live. And he gets called out by Lamar. Since Lamar Jackson called out Marlon Humphrey, Buddy done take it to another level. How did he respond? He became all-pro Marlo once again. Marlon Humphrey this year has played at an all-pro level. He has 6 interceptions on the season, man. Marlon Humphrey has been one of the best corners in football this year, period. It's not an argument. There's no discussion. Nothing needs to be said. Marlon Humphrey has been one of the best corners this year. Top 3, arguably. Since Lamar called him out, he has taken his game to an all-pro level. And because he's taken his game to an all-pro level, we've got to show love and appreciation for the return of all-pro Marlo. And not only has he taken his game to another level, he's been the clutchest defensive player for us. He's the one that made the interception against Joe Burrow. He's the one that made the interception against Joe Burrow in Week 5 when we went to Cincinnati. That helped us tie the game. So he made the clutch play there. He's the one that forced the fumble when we were down 21-7 in Baltimore on Thursday Night Football against the Cincinnati Bengals. He's the one that got the pick 6 against the Steelers. Marlon Humphrey has made clutch play after clutch play after clutch play after clutch play this season. He's arguably been the clutchest defensive player for the Ravens this year. He returned to an all-pro form, and he's looking like the all-pro Marlo we all love. You got to give the man credit for that. So we appreciate you, Marlon Humphrey. And I know you took a lot of flack for the podcast, especially when you weren't playing up to the standards we expect from you. But you delivered and you answered the call. And you returned to your all-pro form. Easily been one of the clutchest players in the National Football League this year. Shout out to Marlon Humphrey. He was the next person on my list. Now, I'm trying to see, is there anybody else I want to talk about before I get to this next person who might be the last person I really need to talk about on this list? Looking at the offense, no. There's no one else really talked there. We talked about the others we needed to talk about. You know what? No. We've talked about everybody else. So it's about time for me to wrap this up and talk about the final person to discuss here. The last person to discuss on this list that we got to show love and appreciation to, Odafe Oweh. We've got to show love and appreciation to Odafe Oweh. Odafe Oweh. This is a fun one. This is a very fun one. This is a very interesting one, especially because every time he hadn't delivered, he was being compared to another individual on the opposite side that we will be facing off against on Saturday. So Odafe Oweh. Odafe Oweh was drafted by the Ravens in 2021. They had used him because the Ravens, I believe, in 2021 they had gotten a first-round pick for Hollywood, and they got 2 players in that draft that they wanted to get. So one of those guys was Odafe Oweh. So Odafe Oweh gets drafted by the Ravens. And people, right off the bat, had some concerns with that and were also a little bit aggravated. You see, we had already drafted Rashad Bateman in 2021 as well. So that was one guy. But because Hollywood Brown got traded, everyone said we now need another receiver to replace Hollywood. George Pickens was available. And many thought, hey, Baltimore might go double. You get Rashad Bateman and George Pickens, and at that point, you've pretty much secured the receiving core. Ravens went with Odafe Oweh instead, a guy that finished his final season with no sacks. People were very skeptical about this guy. Very skeptical. Are we sure this is someone we should pick? You should have gone with George Pickens. Odafe Oweh comes out his rookie season and makes some noise. He comes out his rookie season and makes some noise. Early on, he makes some noise. People loved what they saw. So early on, Odafe Oweh wasn't exactly the pick people wanted. But because of how he played early on in the season, many people were like, you know what, it's fine. People forget, Odafe Oweh bursted on the scene and was immediately effective. He's the one that forced a fumble in Week 2 on Sunday Night Football against Kansas City. The only win we've got against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs was thanks to Odafe Oweh forcing the strip. He forced the fumble. Odafe Oweh was making plays to start off the season. He was looking great. Nobody was talking about George Pickens because Odafe Oweh was making an immediate impact. We finally got one of those pass rushers. We needed him. He's getting to the quarterback early on. He's making play after play after play. Early on. Making plays in his rookie year. But as the season went on, Odafe Oweh started to kind of just disappear to an extent. It's not that he wasn't playing well, but we weren't seeing the fire that we had seen at the start of the season. And people were like, okay, it's his rookie year. He kind of had a down second half of the year, but he's still good. He still showed that potential. He'll come back the next year. Year 2. Odafe Oweh. Year 2. Comes out early on, making an impact. Making an impact in 2022. Let's go. All right. He's doing what he did his rookie year. He's making an impact to start off the season. We expect him to continue this on throughout the year. Keep it going. Keep it going. Keep it going. He does the same thing he did in his rookie year. Starts off the season well, slowly disappears as the season goes on. Okay, that's a bit of a concern. We love that he's starting off the season well, and he's showing that fire, and he's showing he can do it. But we would like to see him be more consistent throughout the season. You can't be well in the first half of the season, then disappear the second half. You've got to be there through and through. So we get to 2023. 2 years in, the Ravens are raving about Odafe Oweh. They can't stop this guy from getting to the quarterback. He's constantly getting past the offensive lineman and getting to Lamar. He's going to have a big year. He starts off the season once again on fire, making plays, and everybody's like, okay, he's done this before. We know he can start off the season well. Can he keep it going? That's all we want to see. Keep it going, Odafe Oweh. He keeps it going for a while, but yet again, he disappears. All right, it's been 3 years. He's starting off well and he's disappearing. Why is he disappearing? People keep looking at the film. He keeps coming close to getting to the quarterback, but he's falling short. What is it going to take for him to take that next step? 3 years in, it's been the same thing over and over again. 3 years in, he starts off the season well, he disappears for the rest of the year. When are we going to get that consistency from Odafe Oweh? When are we going to get the pass rusher we thought we were going to get? When is he going to show up and be consistent? In comes 2024. Odafe Oweh once again starts off the season playing well. Everyone looking with a side eye. Oh, he's starting off the season well. It's not like he hasn't done that in the first 3 years of his career. Is he going to be consistent? Well, a difference between this year and previous years, Odafe Oweh was finally consistent. He was finally consistent. And Odafe Oweh in 2024 comes out here and puts up the best season of his career. Odafe Oweh does what he needs to do to be a force for the Ravens. So his rookie year, he had 33 total tackles, 5 sacks. Year 2, 43 total tackles, 3 sacks. Year 3, last year, 23 total tackles, 5 sacks. When is he going to take that next step? In comes 2024. He finishes the season with 39 total tackles and 10 sacks. Odafe Oweh, first season with double-digit sacks. He was finally able to consistently get to the quarterback and put him in the dirt. Because Odafe Oweh was always consistent in making tackles. The problem was he wasn't getting to the quarterback and finishing the play. He finally did that at a more consistent rate this year. And for the first time in his career, he eclipsed double-digit sacks. So shout out to Odafe Oweh. We appreciate you. The most interesting part about this is, if you looked at the year, Odafe Oweh still has even more potential to show if he's able to build off of this. He had 10 sacks, but he probably could have had 15 to 20 if he didn't whiff on a couple of tackles. So he's still improving. Heading into year 5, he's going to have to take it to another step. But the fact that he finally broke through in year 4 makes us have optimism and hope that he can put it together and continue to improve heading into year 5. So shout out to Odafe Oweh. We appreciate you. Please, young man. I'm just calling him young man like please, dude, just continue to prove. Continue to improve. Continue to improve and continue to be consistent at getting to the quarterback and finishing the play. You also need to do that in the playoffs as well. So, yeah. So those are pretty much my guys I wanted to talk about here. These are guys the Ravens flock has constantly put under fire, and they answer the call. We do got guys that haven't answered the call, such as Marcus Williams, but we're not going to talk about that here. That's pretty much it to show appreciation, because these are guys that have been here for years in their position. We've been cooking them, and they finally answered the call because they showed us what they're capable of and then didn't play up to that standard for a few years, and this year they responded. So shout out to those guys. Last but not least, let's show a little love to Zachary Orr for turning this defense around. Again, I told you guys start the season, we got to give him leniency. Mike McDonald didn't put it together until halfway through the season. Zachary Orr took him a little bit longer, but he finally put it together and turned his defense around. This the way you expect any Ravens defense to be turned around. So shout out to Zachary Orr. He does deserve his credit. Did the exact same thing Mike McDonald did. Turned the defense around. It's to be expected. Shout out to Zachary Orr. He's done a great job. He was under fire a lot because this defense was one of the worst in football. And he turned them in this ending aspect, these final 6 weeks, he turned them into one of the best. In terms of the 6-week span, they've been the best defense in football. And they've gone up against playoff teams during this stretch. The same playoff teams they're going to face off against potentially. So shout out to Zachary Orr. He turned his defense around the same way Mike McDonald did. So hopefully this defense shows up in the playoffs. I expect them to. We'll just have to wait and see. Anyway, guys, that is pretty much it for me. I just wanted to highlight those 5 players and give love and appreciation to those guys because they deserve to get that level of appreciation. With that being said, I'm going to read some of your comments and I'm going to head on out of here. I'm pretty much tired because I had to make that video, and I just wanted to show a quick love to these guys before the playoffs start. Tomorrow, we will be making our preview video of the Ravens and Steelers, and we will be getting ready for the playoffs. So, let me end it off here, read some of your comments, and then I'm out for the most part. What's going on, Spooky J? If Harbaugh loses, he should be banished to make Temu iPads in China for the rest of his days. That's a crazy statement. That is a crazy statement. Salute, comrade. What's going on, Kevin? Appreciate you. Time for Bell to butt from the Steelers. We'll see how that works. If both Harbaugh brothers lose in the first round, they both need to be banished to the Shadow Realm. Nobody's banishing Jim Harbaugh for turning around the Chargers. Like, I mean, if you want to say that about John, by all means, but nobody's banishing Jim anywhere because he turned that franchise around and turned them back into a playoff team. So nobody's going to banish Jim anywhere, even if they lose. He's already exceeded the expectations. He turned that team back into a playoff team. That was what he was supposed to do. Jim's not going anywhere. What's going on, King Blaze? Appreciate you stopping by. What's going on, Deshaun? See you Saturday, bro. Appreciate that, man. Y'all didn't have to expose my Texans like that. You guys will be fine, I guess. I mean, you got the Chargers, so we'll see. Chargers got a bye week in Houston. No way they're losing. Hey, you can say that, but it's playoff football. Anything can happen. As a Seahawks fan and the Washington fan, how's Roger, that right tackle, looking? Oh, he's been great. He's having a fantastic rookie year. I didn't expect him to play T.J. Watt as well as he's done. I hope he does that again on Saturday, but he did a good job on T.J. Watt. He did a really good job on T.J. Watt when the Steelers played us in Baltimore. He's been very solid. He's been great. I love what I'm seeing from Rosengarten. He's looking like the right tackle of the future for us. My Texans are beyond cooked. We'll see. We'll see, man. You know, that things aren't looking good for them. Nervous about the Steelers game, given it's a divisional game and think it'll be close, but think given the Ravens' talent gap and how cold the Steelers are, there is no excuse to win. At the end of the day, I'm personally not nervous. I have no nerves, no anxiousness. I expect the Ravens to handle business. If you're about your business, you handle your business. If the Ravens can't handle business, go home, okay? It's the playoffs. If you can't handle your business, go home. Yeah, I'm tired of doing this nerves. No. If you're about your business, handle your business. Kansas City's not afraid of anybody. They've shown they can go on the road and win. They can be at home and win. Handle your business. What's going on, John? Thoughts on Washington at Tampa Bay? I will be making a video of that as well. I expect Washington to be able to respond because they played Tampa Bay in week 1 and got thrashed. But that was Jaden Daniels' first game as a rookie. I expect the Washington Commanders to respond, but I'm still concerned about that defense. Though I'm interested in seeing Evans versus Lattimore because that's going to be an amazing battle. So hopefully Lattimore can win that battle. He's won it a few times, and Evans got the best of him a few times. We need Lattimore to win that battle. I don't need Standstill. I don't need none of these other corners. Obviously, St. Jude should be nowhere near Mike Evans. That assignment needs to be Lattimore and Lattimore only. That's the only matchup that we need to see. Defensively, I'm still concerned, and I don't think this defense is good enough to take the Commanders to the promised land. Not yet. They need to invest in the defense in the offseason. But I hope the defense can at least keep this close and contested, and I hope the offense will be able to show a better... The offense needs to get off to a hot start. The offense needs to get off to a hot start. Anyway, I'm talking way too much here. I'll do that in the preview video when I preview the wild card round. But I expect the Commanders to respond. They're not going to get blown out. I truly do not believe they're going to get blown out. They're going to handle business. If we somehow lose, how do you think it will happen? Why are you talking about winning or losing? I don't have any possible ideas about this Ravens losing. Y'all always go on the negative side. Y'all talk about me being pessimistic and negative. Why are you thinking about the team losing? Why are you even bringing up those if situations? There's no reason to talk about this team losing. If they're about their business, they're handling their business. You want to talk about what would it take for them to lose? Do what you've been doing in previous playoff games that has cost you. Like, we're acting like, how would it happen? I don't know. The same way they've lost in the previous years. Doing things you don't do. Moving away from who you are. Not sticking to your identity. Why are we talking about potential losses? If the Ravens are about their business, they're handling their business. I'm not talking about potential wins or losses. My mindset is they're going to handle business because they talk about business. They talk about unfinished business. We got to be different this year. We got to handle it. We got to dial in. We got to lock in. If they're true about their business and their words are absolute, they're going to handle business. I don't need to talk about what ifs in terms of losses. If they're about their business, they'll handle their business. If they're not about their business, they can get the hell out of the playoffs and go home early. Simple as that. You either win it all or go home. We don't need to talk about ifs here. If they are to lose, how is it going to... I don't know. I don't care. I'm not here to think about losses. If they're about their business, they handle their business. I'm not talking about potential losses here. Why would I even think about that scenario as a Ravens fan? Who, as a fan of a football team, would think about potential loss to the playoffs? You think Buffalo Bills fans are thinking, hey, man... If we somehow lose the Bo Nix, how would that happen? Like, what would it take for Bo Nix to beat our team? Why would I want to think about the Steelers beating my team? Come on, guys. If Brock Purdy can make it to a Super Bowl, Lamar sure as hell can, especially with that defense and run game that he has. If the Ravens stick to a winning formula that is clear as day, that everyone can see, they can get to the Super Bowl. But it's up to them. If they move away from that winning formula, they're going to lose. And they'll just have to go home and deal with it. That just shows the leader Lamar is. When he called out Humphrey, he lit a fire under that boy. And I hope he calls out everybody and lights a fire under everybody. If you haven't been playing up to standard, you need to be called out. Brandon Stevens. I'm officially going to the game, going to try to be as loud as I can. Should be a good one. Should be a good one. Sorry I was late. I was talking to a family member. She's in Cali. Wanted to make sure she's okay and she's fine. But can't wait for JD5. Appreciate it, John. It's all good. Glad to see she's fine. Shout out to Kyle Van Noy. Damn near forgot. I'm sorry. Shout out to who? I appreciate going live. KV. Kyle Van Noy? I'm trying to think of who else that would be. Or if you're talking about someone currently on the Patriots, I couldn't actually think of who else that you would be talking about specifically. If the Ravens lose, you better send John Harbaugh to the bowels of hell with the rats. That's not my job to do. That would be Steve Scotty's job to do. JD to the ball, sure. Not with that defense, buddy. Not yet. He's going to ball out, but that defense is going to sell. I want to send my thoughts and prayers to the people in LA and Southern California. Yeah, it's been I've been seeing all the aspects on Twitter. It's been very sad to see, man. People just losing their homes. Some have been stuck under the fires, having to evaluate. It's been brutal. So my thoughts and prayers go out to those individuals, and hopefully everyone is able to evacuate and escape from their house. And anybody that is stuck in their house, hopefully they can get to them. Lamar rushes for a touchdown on the Steelers. I'm calling it now. I mean, if you use the read option, he absolutely can do that. What's up, Real? How's your day? My day is going good. It's, well, I mean, it's a new day now because it's January 9th, but yesterday was fine, so it's all good. I am hopeful on how this team will respond going into the playoffs. While I am still keeping a close eye on Harbaugh, I saw from Hard Knocks that he is locked into. This has got to be the year, man. The formula to win is there. I just dropped a video on the winning formula that can help the Ravens get to the Super Bowl. The formula is there. The formula is there. If they can follow that winning formula that they've been doing all year, they can win this. And the biggest aspect that we all need to remember is Baltimore has played every team in the AFC playoffs. This is not like previous years where it's like, okay, we didn't match up with Kansas City or Buffalo, so if we see them in the potential in the AFC title game, we have to be prepared to try to see how it is. No. Baltimore is entering the playoffs, having faced every single team in the AFC playoffs right now. And they've beaten every single one of them except Kansas City. And they did it by following a clear winning formula. So if they follow that winning formula, they can win this whole thing. If they don't follow that formula, they're going to lose. And they'll have no one else but to blame. They'll have no one else to blame but themselves. The formula is there. I dropped the video speaking on it. The formula is there. NFL said they may have to move the Rams playoff game to Arizona. That would probably be the right thing to do. Because that's probably the right thing to do. I don't know if they could play that game in LA at this point. You may just have to just move it to a different area. Whatever they're going to have to do, you just can't put the players in that type of risk. And especially with all the people that are affected it, I don't think playing in LA, especially after this, would be the specific move. So NFL definitely should look to move it. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that goes and how that develops, because I don't think the Rams play until Sunday. So maybe they play Monday. I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see. I'll see. Well, I mean, I'll see, but we'll see what happens. This Ravens team has seen everybody. They're definitely battle tested this year than last year. Last year they were just dominating teams. This year they've been battle tested. They play on Monday Night Football, and they still have time to see how the conditions are going to be between now and Sunday, but I think they'll probably still end up moving to Arizona. We'll just have to wait and see. Wow, they really like putting the NFC West teams on Monday Night Football. Like, they really like the wild. I remember Kyler Murray's game was on Monday Night Football for the wildcard round. They really like putting the NFC West there, huh? Interesting. But, yeah, we'll see what happens with that. And yeah, the Ravens have seen everybody. They're more battle tested this year because they faced off against everybody in the AFC playoffs. They faced off against Buffalo. They faced off against the Texans. They faced off against the Chargers. They faced off against the Broncos. They faced off against the Steelers. They faced off against the Chiefs. The only team they have not beaten in this AFC picture has been the Chiefs. And there's a clear path to Arrowhead for the AFC title game. So at the very least, Baltimore should be there. And then you go test yourself out against the champs and see if you can get revenge using this new formula that can clearly get you to the Super Bowl. Vikings lose to Lions. Have to play a tough Rams team on Monday Night Football in the West, and yikes. Hey, man, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. Unless Sam Darnold turns into a donut, but which, I mean, based on how he played against the Lions, they'll be fine. I don't think the Vikings can go to the Super Bowl. I don't think they can beat the Lions, but, we'll see. Hopefully, I hope and pray the Ravens can pull it through. I would assume they can. If they're about their business, they'll handle their business. End of discussion. If they're about their business, they will handle their business. Anyway, guys, it is 12:30. I just wanted to make this quick stream here to show my appreciation to a few of the Ravens players that needed to get done. That needed to get their flowers and show appreciation to. The regular season's done. We don't need to talk about appreciating players. I just wanted to get this out before the playoff game. It is time to move forward. Playoff football is here, and it's time to lock in. Thoughts on Green Bay and Philly rematch? Stick around for my, it'll probably come out this week, my wildcard video. I'm going to make a wildcard preview, and I'm going to talk about all the wildcard teams. Long story short, Philly should be able to win this game. That's just how I'll say it. Philly should be able to win this game. Green Bay is in a lot of trouble right now. So, Love injured with the elbow. Watson out for the season. Jair gone for the season. They're in trouble. But, yeah, I'll talk about that in the wildcard preview. We have to talk about that Rams and Lions trade. Might be the best trade in NFL history. Yeah, we've made those discussions a few times for a while now. And someone asked about this. If the Lions win the Super Bowl, undoubtedly it would be the best trade in NFL history because both teams would have got a ring out of that trade. Not gonna lie, 2025 has been brutal. New Orleans tragedy, California fires, China earthquakes, etc. It's been brutal. Stay strong. And we're just 9 days into the new year. It has been brutal. So stay strong, everybody. If you're being affected by these things, my thoughts and prayers go out to you. And I hope you guys are able to evacuate and get the help that you need out there, especially with the circumstances. With the fires right now that's happening right now, it's been brutal. A lot of people have been stuck in their houses. So hopefully those people are able to get help and, they're able to get the fires taken care of, get these people out of their houses and help them escape. It's been brutal. So, yeah, my heart, thoughts and prayers go out to these guys. But with that being said, guys, I appreciate you tuning into the stream today. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys later. So be sure to stay safe and peace out.